Most people think they'd thrive in a zombie apocalypse. But let's be honest, they're not Rick Grimes, and they're definitely not Daryl Dixon. In real life, most people would not die because zombies are too dangerous. They die because they panic, waste time, trust the wrong people, or do something unbelievably stupid in the first 10 minutes. And the worst type of all? It's probably not even the one you think, because people who are most likely to die in a zombie apocalypse are not always the weakest. Sometimes, they are the ones most prepared for it. In this video, we're figuring out the exact types of people who would die the second a zombie outbreak starts. The first people on the list would be the ones who panic. They could be strong, they could be fast, maybe even smart. None of that matters if their brain shuts down the second things stop being normal. Every zombie movie, every game, every show has this person. The moment they see blood, they stop being useful. They start screaming, they run the wrong way and somehow trip over nothing. They turn one bad moment into 10 worse ones. And that is exactly why they die first. Because in a zombie apocalypse, being calm matters more than being brave. When the world is collapsing around you, you don't need to pretend that you are not scared. You need to be focused, and panic doesn't help with it. You can see versions of this all over The Walking Dead. Not always in one major character, but in random survivors who completely fall apart the second chaos starts. Same thing in The Last of Us. The infected are terrifying, and that's what really breaks people first. Fear turns normal adults into confused messes in seconds. And the worst part is, panic spreads. One person screams, and now nobody can think straight. One person runs, and 3 more follow. One person breaks, and the whole group starts cracking from the inside. That is what people forget. In a zombie apocalypse, your mindset is not just your problem. It becomes everybody's problem. But at least panickers are easy to spot. The next type is worse, because they look calm. Right after the panickers, you have the deniers. This type is dangerous in a completely different way. They don't scream. They don't run in circles. They do something even worse. They waste time. These are the people who keep saying, maybe it's not that bad. The military will fix it. Maybe we should wait. The cure is going to go public soon. Meanwhile, the end of the world is already chewing on somebody's neck in the parking lot. Fear the Walking Dead showed this type really well in the beginning. People kept trying to force normal logic onto a world that was not normal anymore. And honestly, that feels realistic. Most people would not accept zombies right away. They would explain it away. They would cling to old rules because old rules feel safe. But denial gets people killed. While the smart ones are already moving, avoiding crowds, stocking supplies, and adapting to the new reality, the deniers are still standing there asking for more proof. They stay in the city too long. They wait for the government to fix it. They put more trust in their routine than in their own eyes. And in a zombie apocalypse, time is a currency you burn once. Then you get the fake tough guy. This one lives in every apocalypse fantasy. The guy who thinks muscles, anger, and one weapon automatically make him the king of the new world. He watched The Walking Dead and somehow came away thinking he would be Shane, Daryl, and a special forces operator all at once. In reality, he would be dead in a week. The tough guys always act like the apocalypse was made for them, picking fights they don't need to pick, taking unnecessary risks. They think that everything they face should be taken head on. That is not survival. That is ego without anything to back it up. Zombie stories are full of this type. Guys who think being mentally prepared is the same as being actually prepared. But real survival is usually boring. It is backing up when your pride wants to push forward. It is saving energy. It is not fighting unless you have to. And the scary part is, a lot of people watching this probably think this would be them in a good way. It would not. The next one is even dumber, because he dies carrying things he never needed in the first place. The loot goblin. This person would treat the apocalypse like a Mr. Beast video. The city is falling apart, people are running for their lives, and this person comes out of a store carrying whiskey, a handful of gold watches, a katana they definitely don't know how to use, and somehow 0 water. They always grab what looks cool instead of what keeps them alive. And this is more realistic than people think. A lot of people don't understand survival at all. They think it's about owning stuff, but in a real collapse, priorities shift fast. Water matters. Food matters. A bag you can actually carry matters. And fancy unnecessary stuff loses its value instantly. Zombie games are basically a comedy museum for this type of person. Project Zomboid, the most realistic zombie game ever, teaches the same lesson in a meaner way. Looking equipped and actually being prepared are two very different things. The loot goblin dies because they still think like a consumer in a world that no longer has stores. They fill their bag with junk, waste precious time, and end up exhausted before the real danger even even starts. And that leads to a type that almost nobody likes talking about, even though in real life they would be in serious trouble fast. The physically unprepared. Not people who just look a certain way. People whose bodies simply are not ready for what survival actually takes. Because a zombie apocalypse isn't a big, cool action scene. It is running when you are already tired, climbing when your legs are shaking, and carrying weight when your back is already done. Then waking up sore and doing it again. And for a lot of people, that would be the real killer. The people who get out of breath fast, who cannot move for long, who struggle with pain, weight, stamina, or basic physical stress would be in trouble almost immediately. Because the apocalypse does not care how many seasons of The Walking Dead you watched. If your body cannot keep up, sooner or later, zombies will take you. That is the ugly truth nobody likes saying out loud. Survival is physical, not in some cool movie way, in a boring, cruel, non-stop way. Walking, lifting, climbing, running at the worst possible moment. And if your body taps out early, your options disappear with it. But here is where the video gets darker, because some people would not be in danger because they made bad choices. They would be in danger because the world they rely on disappears first. Then there are the people whose lives depends on systems that collapse first. And this is where a zombie apocalypse gets really cruel. Because for some people, the biggest threat would not even be the zombies. It would be the collapse of everything they rely on to stay alive in the first place. People who need insulin, people who depend on medication, people who use wheelchairs, prosthetics, oxygen, or regular treatment, people whose daily survival depends on help from others. In normal life, those systems are there. Hospitals work, pharmacies work, supplies arrive. People can get where they need to go. But in an apocalypse, all of that can disappear almost overnight. A person in a wheelchair is not automatically doomed because of the wheelchair. The problem is that the world suddenly stops being built for them. Doors don't open themselves, power goes out, and elevators die. Stairs become walls. In a world where everybody is running, climbing, jumping fences, and forcing their way through chaos, even simple movement becomes much harder. Same thing with someone who needs daily medication. It is not weakness that puts them at risk. It is time, supply, and access. If the medicine runs out, then it becomes a countdown. And that is what makes this group so vulnerable. They are not necessarily less useful. Some of them might be more qualified than everyone else, tougher than everyone else, better under pressure than the average healthy idiot with a shotgun. But survival gets much harder when your body depends on a world that no longer works. That is the brutal part of a zombie apocalypse. It does not just punish recklessness, it punishes dependence on medicine, structure, and support. The second those things disappear, some people are thrown into hardcore mode way earlier than everyone else. And while that group is tragic, the next type is the exact opposite. They are dangerous because they mean well. The hero with no brain. This person wants to save everyone. In a normal world, that sounds noble. In a zombie apocalypse, that sounds like a group funeral in progress. This is the person who hears crying outside and opens the door. The one who breaks formation because they don't want to leave their friends. The one who risks 5 lives to maybe save 1 because they still think the world will reward good intentions. Zombie stories love this type because they always create drama. And honestly, it works. Sometimes the kindest person in the group is also the most dangerous, because kindness without judgment is easy to exploit. Not every person begging for help actually needs it. Not every survivor deserves trust, and not every risk is worth it. Compassion is a virtue, but in an apocalypse, it needs rules. The hero with no brain has none. They just have a soft heart and bad instincts get people eaten. Now here's the part most viewers get wrong. A lot of people think the best way to survive is to trust nobody and go solo. That sounds cool until your ankle explodes on a staircase and there is nobody there to drag you up. The lone wolf. This is the person who thinks they would do better alone. No group, no drama, no rules. Just them, a backpack, maybe a crossbow, and a 1,000-yard stare like they are in some trailer for the greatest survival game ever made. It sounds awesome for one day. Then reality kicks in. You need sleep and food. You need someone watching while you rest. You need help when you get hurt. One person can't scout, guard, cook, and stay awake forever. This is one of the biggest lies zombie fiction sells people. Daryl Dixon makes being alone look cool because he has unlimited pod armor. Real people are not built like that. Real people get sick, they slip, they make dumb choices when they are tired. They need help. The lone wolf doesn't die because they are weak. They die because nobody can be a whole team by themselves for long. But the next type is worse than the lone wolf, because at least the lone wolf mostly destroys themselves. This person destroys everybody nearby. Then you have one of the most dangerous people in any zombie story. The biggest cliche in zombie movies. The person who hides the bite. They don't die first, but they are one of the first to destroy the group. You know that scene. Everybody finally finds shelter. Maybe they survived the worst night of their lives. They think they are safe for a few hours. Then someone rolls down a sleeve, starts sweating, gets weirdly quiet, and suddenly you realize they were bitten the whole time and said nothing. That person is a walking disaster. And the reason this always works is because it feels real. Fear makes makes people selfish. Shame makes people quiet. Maybe they think they will be fine. Maybe they do not want to be left behind. Maybe they are too scared to tell the truth. But whatever the reason, one lie becomes a death sentence for everybody nearby. The Walking Dead used this kind of tension all the time in the beginning seasons because trust is everything in a collapse. Once people start hiding bites, symptoms, or danger, the group begins rotting from the inside. Nobody sleeps the same. Nobody fights the same. Every cough becomes suspicious, and every silence feels wrong. And that is why this person is so deadly. They do not just die, they take safety down with them. Now here is an unexpected one. This person might not be the strongest, the loudest, or the dumbest, but this is definitely the most annoying type, the complainer. This person doesn't always look dangerous at first. That is what makes them tricky. They are not panicking. They are not denying reality. They are not trying to be a hero. They are just always draining the group. The shelter is too cold. The food tastes bad. The walk is too long. The bag is too heavy. The plan is stupid. The watch shift is unfair. Everything becomes a problem. Everything becomes an argument. In normal life, that is annoying. In an apocalypse, that is dangerous. Because survival is already exhausting. The group is hungry, tired, and one word away from big fight. The complainer adds drag to every decision, slows down movement, starts fights, kills morale, makes every hard moment harder. And here is the worst part. In a zombie apocalypse, morale is not some fluffy bonus. Morale is fuel. Once the group starts feeling hopeless, sloppy choices follow. People stop listening, stop caring. The complainer does not always get everyone killed in one big dramatic moment. Sometimes they do it slowly, by turning the group into a weaker version of itself. And once a group starts cracking, one bad leader is all it takes to finish the job. The wannabe leader. Those are definitely of the worst kinds of people to have around when the world breaks. This person loves control more than responsibility. The second chaos starts, they begin talking like they were born to lead. They bark stupid orders, shut people down, and for some reason, act certain. And because fear makes people desperate, some of them actually get followers. That is the trap. The fake leader mistakes confidence for competence. They make bad calls with total certainty, reject better ideas because they did not come from them. They care more about staying in charge than staying alive. And when their plan goes wrong, they don't adjust, they double down. Zombie stories are packed with these people because they are painfully believable. In a crisis, people want someone who sounds sure. But sounding sure and knowing what you are doing are not the same thing. A fake leader can get more people killed than a whole horde of zombies, because at least zombies don't pretend that they know a way out. And finally, you get the type most viewers secretly picture themselves as, which is exactly why they would be one of the first to go. The person who thinks they are the main character. This is the one who believes the apocalypse would reveal that they were special all along, that once society collapses, dramatic music would kick in, and suddenly they would become some legendary survivor with perfect instincts and endless plot armor. You know exactly who this is. The person imagining themselves on top of a car with a bat over their shoulder, the one hearing one-liners in their own head. No, they would probably die doing something cinematic and stupid, because the second you start thinking like a main character, you stop respecting reality. You take risks for nothing. You confuse survival with looking cool, and real danger doesn't care how good the scene looks in your head. That is the biggest theme in all of this. The people who die first in a zombie apocalypse are usually not the weakest. They are the least adaptable, the ones who panic instead of thinking, deny instead of acting. They are the ones who care more about ego, comfort, fantasy, or control than making smart choices. Zombies are only half the problem. The other half is people bringing old habits into a world that no longer forgives them. That is what makes zombie stories so good when they are done right. They are not really about the monsters. They are about what pressure reveals, who falls apart, who lies, who adapts, and who keeps pretending life still works the old way while the whole world is trying to bite their neck. And the wild part is, the people who survive the longest usually don't look impressive at first. They are not flashy. They aren't trying to look cool. They accept reality fast. They stay useful. They just survive. Because living through the end of the world wouldn't be about one heroic moment. It would be about avoiding 1,000 stupid ones. Hey there! If you like our content, then press that subscribe button. We have a lot of new videos coming, like which professions would actually survive the longest. Bye-bye!